There's a really powerful spiritual practice that I want to share with you today. And this practice, you could say, is directly related to the art of manifestation, the process of manifestation. And it's related to manifestation in that it helps you reaffirm your true identity or a higher perspective of who you are, and sort of helps deconstruct lower levels of identification that are less representative of who you are in truth, that are more lack-based and more in the way of actually coming into resonance with a life expression that truly represents who you somehow intuitively know yourself to be. And this practice I'm actually really excited about, because you could say it's a little bit of a hack in consciousness. And the hack consists of this. Every time you find yourself wanting something, desiring something, every time you feel that impulse, oh, I want this, or having a thought of, I really want whatever it is, I really want $1 million, it doesn't matter what it is. Whenever you find yourself in that desiring mode, zoom out a tiny bit and really look at who is desiring this. And that's a little bit of an extension of, the very traditional form of self-inquiry, which is, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Zooming out, who am I really? But especially when it comes to the processes of formulating desire, of formulating want, we often, precisely at that intersection, we often become a little bit unconscious. We often just dip into attachment, into identification with these processes very intensely. And exactly at that little junction, when sliding into the I want this apparatus, into that mechanism, is often where the retention of spacious awareness, or of a more meta-awareness, is rather difficult for a lot of people. So practicing, sort of like training a muscle, to always zoom out a little bit in exactly that moment, and actually making a precise effort to identify who is wanting this, is very important. To actually in detail find this person inside that wants this thing, right? The person, I often like to say, is not the same as the body, and the person is also not the same as the conscious awareness. The person, I always like to refer to as some sort of an electromagnetic construct, which actually resides, in the body, you could say. This is not an accurate metaphysical description, but it gives you a bit of an idea, because oftentimes whenever you desire things, are afraid of other things, you have certain, dynamics active in your field. You'll notice that it's as if there is as if you are this entity that's sort of expressing itself through this body. And so really noticing who it actually is that wants something. What is this construct? Where is this want coming from? Practicing that with detail gives you a more detailed sense, a more clear, a more refined sense of not actually being that pattern, of actually being beyond, being more spacious than, being more expansive than that pattern, that sense of identity, or that structure, right? And by practicing that expansive stance, Identification is withdrawn naturally from this pattern, right? And the more identification is withdrawn from this pattern, let's say I was a moment ago saying, I want $1 million, right? This pattern, finding this person, this structure, this energetic structure that feels like it does not have $1 million. It's perhaps experiencing lack. It's through contrast in experience has, arrived at the conclusion of, I want this because I don't have that, but I can, by not having it, I know I want it. So it's very, by definition, it does not have that. And identity, I am, true identity, true beingness, is the most powerful thing there is, because it's unassailable. True beingness, I am, is not assailable. So when these patterns are infused with beingness, with I am, they become a declaration. So in this case, the wanting state is a perhaps subconscious declaration of not having. And everyone's heard this 1,000 times as well in all of the, law of attraction teachings and whatnot, that you attract what you're the vibration of, and yada, 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 and so on and so forth. The point here being that the tool to use, the hack, if you will, is to stay sharp in those moments of wanting things, catching yourself wanting something, catching yourself desiring something, catching yourself in those moments and really examining for a moment, really feeling, becoming aware of who is it that wants these things. And do it sincerely and watch what happens. Watch what happens to your sense of identity, to your sense of beingness, to your sense of awareness. And practice it long enough and watch what happens in your world. So what happens when you clearly identify the one or that structure, that person that wants something, and you become you, the actual you, the self, yourself, is more secure in a true I am based, in a true beingness of in identity as a true sense of beingness. What happens is the sense of wanting shifts, because as your sense of identity zooms out, shifts, as your sense of me moves from before, a moment ago, you were lost in, oh, I want this or I want that, and now you are watching, witnessing this structure wanting something, this person, this electromagnetic construct wanting something, desiring something. So you're more in a zoomed out, in a more expansive, spacious state of awareness. And from there, you do not have the same sense of wanting. But you have access to a sense of appreciation. So wanting and desiring is transformed into appreciating. And all of a sudden, instead of being in a sensation of wanting something from a state of not having it, you're shifting into a genuine state of appreciating this thing, whatever it might be, the $1 million, in consciousness. Wow, you're appreciating that in consciousness all of a sudden. You're zoomed out, you're in a more expansive state, you're more relaxed, you're not contracted into a pattern, into a limited person. And you are more in tune with your natural state as it is, as consciousness itself. And you are naturally accessing the vibration of appreciating something. And that shift from wanting or desiring to appreciating it's a quantum leap. It's a completely different level. It sounds like a small thing, but it's not. So this little tool, this little trick, this little hack has been extraordinarily powerful for me, and I hope that it might help at least one person out there. So I hope it helps at least one of you. Let me know if it does, and much love to you.